Hello, hello, girlies, and welcome back to another episode of Chatty Rats. I am your co host, Natalia, and I'm joined by.
Rasheen! Hello, little rats. Oh,
Hello, hello.
nice to see you guys again for another week. I have so much to talk about.
I'm so excited. I really want to talk about your Hawaii trip, so shall we get into it?
Yeah, I have so much to tell. It's going to be a good one. So, we'll start off with I arrive. I arrive to the beautiful islands. I am thinking to myself, okay, the juju is on my side because when I get to the car rental, they're like, we can upgrade you to a Jeep for like basically nothing more. And I was like Jeep is my dream car. So it was a really good moment. And then I get to the hotel, and this is where things take a little turn. So the valet was like, "What's your last name?" And I say like my last name Fatimi, and then he's like, "I can't find you." But no worries, go ahead and go check in. So I go check in, and I can just tell this woman cannot find my reservation. And I'm like, "Hey, like here's the receipt. Like, I've paid for it, booked it. Here are all the confirmations." But girl, my mistake, which I learned from this trip, was booking through a third party. I booked through Priceline. I've done
Uh
this
huh.
tons of times, but I guess a risk you can run into by doing this is that the hotel becomes overbooked and they can just like not have your reservation. And the shitty part was they were sold out. And for some strange odd reason, so it was like every hotel.
Oh
uh
my God. You were alone at this point, right?
I was alone and I had woken up at 4, like slept at 2, so I was running on no food, no sleep, and then I was just on a customer service journey with Priceline.
Oh,
I just wanna give a tip, if anyone ever travels and you book through a third party, always call the hotel immediately after just to check with them that they have your reservation. Personally, I will never be booking through a third party again due to this,
yeah.
but in case you do, because they are cheaper. But that just, like, set off a chain of crazy events, of just, like,
Oh
random
God.
little things going wrong. It was funny 'cause, then Michelle came, thankfully, the next day, and I realized I was like, "God, I'm so happy she's here." Because the day before, like, that whole situation actually ended up being really, like, stressful
Oh,
because they kept.
yeah. You're alone, you don't know where you're gonna sleep that night. As a woman, alone, like, that's so
Exactly.
scary.
I know. The annoying part was when I was initially on the phone with Priceline, they were telling me they're rebooking me for, like, another hotel. So, they were, like, playing around with me, Natalia. Ended up recording one of their last conversations because we had, like, 6 or 7 calls, and they kept telling me that they're gonna call me back, and they wouldn't call me back. At the end, at the last phone call, the one I recorded, I was like, "I know you guys are just trying to get me off of the phone." And they're like, "No, we're gonna call you back."
Oh my god. Also, just, like, you out here homeless, and then they're like, "We'll call you
Yeah,
back."
but Natalia, I will say, I think the beauty in that was, 1, the hotel front desk lady was so sweet. She had the longest line. She saw me crying and she, like, went and grabbed her tissue box and came and sat with me, and she, like, hugged me
Oh.
and she was like, "Are you okay? Like, I'm so sorry I can't help you. I wish we had a room that I could give to you." And the line just kept forming and I was like, "Girl, you can go back and help them." She's like, "No, I just wanna make sure you're okay." And, like, she just sat with me, and then I had this other lady who was in a couple come up to me, and she's like, "I've seen you here all day, like, are you okay? Like, what happened to your room? Like, just know that I have an extra bed if you wanna stay
Oh
with
my
us, like, you can
god.
stay with us." And I was like, "Ugh, there's so much light in the darkness." People are so kind even when corporations turn their backs on you.
I was gonna say, have you ever seen the is it called The Breakup? I don't even know. No, Forgetting Sarah Marshall. He goes into Hawaii, everything's fully booked except for, like, the penthouse. I wish it would've been like, "You know what, baby? You get the penthouse for free." But no.
Okay, so that was the thing. Sorry, this is the last thing I'll say about this. There was a hotel that was available. It was $600 a night and it was like stunning. On my first 2-hour conversation, the conclusion we came to with the guy, what he was like, we usually can't do this because if we're rebooking, it has to be the same value. But because everything is booked, I'm just going to get final approval. I have you
Yeah.
temporarily booked for this place, but I'm just going to get my manager to authorize it and we'll give you a call back in 10 minutes. That's what messed me up was the fact that he promised me that and then was like,
Yeah.
JK. This situation coupled with the fact that 2 mornings after I woke up with Michelle there and turned off my phone alarm, and then my phone just completely stopped working. And the thing was, like, I guess I'm a little bit of a control freak in the sense where, like, I really like to have things planned out and then go with the flow then. So, like, even for this trip, I had a bunch of food places bookmarked, kinda like, "Where should we go?" Like, "Here are some options." I like to be ready in that sense.
Yeah.
And it was similar with the hotel where it's like, I like to know, like, where we're staying. Because what we ended up happening was, like, me and Michelle ended up staying at, like, a tiny little room with, like, a bunk bed. It was
No,
just
the
so
bunk bed,
funny.
I don't know if you guys know, but Sheen and Michelle are pretty bougie, I would say. You guys like a nice lifestyle. Like, I followed Michelle as well, and I've seen her travels, so I was like, "They're being humbled."
We're being humble, but I really liked it because it reminded both of us of when we were traveling Europe in hostels, and
Mhm.
it just felt really nostalgic, so it ended up being a really good experience in that sense.
Yeah.
But I just think, like, Mother Hawaii was trying to humble me and also give me, like, gifts because I always have this fantasy of one day just throwing my phone in the ocean and, like, not having to answer anyone or anything, and I feel like
Yeah.
I was given that without actually having to throw my phone in the ocean.
I love that.
So, that was really nice. I think I just learned to let go, and one other thing Michelle said that really stuck was maybe the lesson you need to learn is we don't need the luxuries, we don't need the crazy amenities and things like that. Your birthday and this trip is gonna be fun regardless of that, and just, like,
Mhm.
learning how to be a bit more humble, and I was like, "Okay, I really like that lesson." Like, as long as you have good company, you don't need a good hotel, you know? So, that was nice as well.
I also like that this was supposed to be like a solo trip, and then your
Yes.
phone broke, which, like, you can't, right, if you're alone.
Yes.
Having Michelle there where, like, she can navigate, she can Google Maps you guys,
Exactly.
whatever. She has the admin taken care of so that you do have the opportunity to be like, "Oh, I don't have to text, I don't have to
Mhm.
do anything." So that's, in a way, too, like a gift that she was able to come as well.
I know, I know. I kept telling her, I was like, "I feel so blessed." Because I think it's a really big deal when friends do come on these trips with you because 'cause they're taking their precious PTO. So much money goes into it. I even think of that with, like, weddings or bachelorettes. The friends are also putting a lot into that. It's not an expectation, it's something that we should be grateful for, so I was very, 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 very fucking grateful. But yeah, it was a really good birthday overall, I would say. 31 feels really, really good. It feels fucking crazy to say that I'm 31,
I know that it's
but
crazy.
I think 30 felt a little awkward, like, I felt slightly uncomfortable with having to say I'm 30, but 31 just feels, like, very peaceful and, like, I know where I'm going and I'm enjoying life, so
It's kinda like when you turn 21 and, like, 21 is like, "Woo, 21," and then you're like, "I'm
yes.
22 now," like, whatever.
Mhm. That's real. Oh, one other thing where I realized everything happens for a reason. So we ended up staying at 2 different hotels. One was the bunk bed, and then one was the original hotel that I was supposed to stay at, so we, like, split our time.
Uh-huh.
And at the first hotel that was spontaneous, the bunk bed one, when I was picking up my car, the valet was like also, there's only valet. I'm not bougie, just parking valet. There's only valet in Waikiki. Like, you can't self-park your car. That's one
Yeah.
con about it. But he was like, "Hey, do you want any recommendations for where to go?" And then I was like, "Yeah, sure." So he, like, names this hike that I had never heard of, never found it in my research. And me and Michelle end up going, and Natalia, it was the most beautiful hike I've ever been to in my life.
Oh my
And
god.
context, I did summer school in Oahu. I've been there for 4 weeks and like I never had been to this place.
Oh,
So
wow.
me and Michelle were like, dude, the Priceline thing low key happened. So I would stay at that hotel, then find out about this hike.
I
about
love
it
a
with
good hike 'cause sometimes you feel so connected. I mean, at least for me, like, so
Yes.
connected to, like, nature, and I'm like, I am one with the wilderness. There's something very magical about, like, a very beautiful
I
hike, I
agree.
think.
It was like a path, to the right was the beautiful green lush mountains, and then to the left, it was like the ocean, and the ocean was right there. You're just like
Oh my
walking
god.
along the cliff empty. So I was
It's
really, really
amazing.
grateful. But me and Michelle, like, always like to ask each other crazy questions, and on this hike, she was asking me, like, some of my non-negotiables when it comes to men, and one thing I had told her, I was like, "It's so, so important for me" and you talk about this all the time, that
Yeah,
whoever I end up with understands and knows that if it comes down to the moment where, like, my parents need somewhere to go, they can't take care of themselves or something like that, they're staying with us. And Michelle was, like, really trying to challenge me on this question. She was like, "Well, what if he isn't down for that?" Then I was like, "Well, then that's a deal breaker." And then she's like, "Well, what if he wants his parents to stay and, like, not you?" I don't know. She was just, like, really challenging me
yeah.
on it. And I was like, "I don't know, Michelle, like, it has to happen." Like, that is a deal breaker if it doesn't happen. But the craziest thing was, like, she not like she put doubt in my head, but I was just like, "Okay, like, is what I'm thinking for unrealistic? So let's put a pin in that story because it's gonna come back to play in a second while I
Okay,
tell you this
okay.
story." So, the day after my birthday, I see a text from this guy that I knew from UCLA. Like, I didn't know him very intimately, but, like, I was really good friends with his friend.
Okay.
And he was like, "Happy birthday. Like, if you need any recommendations while you're in Oahu or if you wanna catch up, like, let me know." So, I ended up texting him my last day when Michelle was gone. I think I had, like, 6 hours, and I was like, "Hey, this is during the workday, like, I don't know if you're free, but if you are, we could hang out." So, we
Right.
ended up, like, meeting up and hanging out, and it was just, like, a hangout, so it's not a date, but it was almost everything I needed to be reminded of. Because right before I was telling Michelle, I was like, "I don't even know what it's like to have a really good connection anymore. Like, how does one have a boyfriend? Like, how does one have that?" It wasn't clicking because it's been so long I've been single. So we're hanging out
Yeah.
and we're just like talking a lot, and it felt very like comfortable and easy. And I was like, damn, like this is so refreshing to be around. And it's funny because at one point we were just like talking about what we want in a
Yeah.
partner. And I was telling him what I was telling Michelle. I was like, one of my deal breakers and a reason I feel like it's so important for me to find someone who like has the same values as me is, God forbid if my mom or my dad, and like as I'm trying to finish the sentence, he like cuts me off and he's like, of course they would stay with us. Like, not, he doesn't mean me and him, but like he's
That's what he
sharing
would
his
do.
perspective. Yeah. He's like, oh yeah, of course they would stay with us. If that ever happens. I was like, Michelle, Michelle,
He was
Michelle,
the same.
Michelle. Yeah, like, I'm just kidding. It was nice and funny that I had that conversation the day before and Michelle was really challenging me, and then to, like, be put in a situation where I was reminded, like, "No, like, people like this exist. You're not asking for too much. You just haven't met the right person." So, that was really enlightening, and
No, I love that. It's like the universe being like, "No, it exists. It's here. Like, just
yeah.
have patience, my little Padawan." That's why I encourage people to date a lot before they, like, settle down because it just really expands your perspective on, like, what
Mhm.
could be.
Mhm.
And there's literally so much diversity in human beings that yeah, you can find a lot of what you want. I think, like, superficial things you can, like, be like, "Ah," like, you
Yeah.
can definitely compromise on, but, like, things like values and, like,
Yes.
belief systems, like, it's so important.
Yeah. I think it was just a good reminder because I think sometimes being single for so long, I think like, "Oh, am I being too picky? Like, am I just being unrealistic about what I want?" So I think being around him was just a good reminder and good illustration that, like, no, like, they exist, they're out there, like, you will find it. I've said this before, but I think in dating, there's expanders, and I remember I had this really amazing date in Mexico City, and that was, like, such an expander on what a good connection is, and I think this hangout was another expander in the sense of just knowing that I can find someone with, like, my standards and someone that I really would see something long term with, and you've said this where you're like, the warmer you get, like
I think that you're, like, in a good path to, like, finding the person that you're meant to be with,
Yeah.
if with every date or with every relationship that, you are that guy is looking, like, closer and closer to what you would
Yes.
want. So, like, at
Yes.
least for me before I met Daniel, like and I felt
Mhm.
like, "Oh, I'm definitely in a path," because, like, I am dating nicer and nicer and nicer guys. Or, like, I would find something that was, like, good in that person that was like, "Oh, that's something that I would want, there's something that I wouldn't want," until I met the person that I think I'm gonna be with forever, which is, like, so cool, So I feel like that's how
Mhm.
you know. If, like, the dating's looking a little chaotic, maybe we have to do a little bit of, like a little bit of inner work, but I think that if you're getting
Yeah.
closer and closer and closer, it means that you are slowly starting to attract the right thing. And the lessons, this is, like, are so, so important. Even, like, the guys that have broken my heart, like, every lesson that I've learned
Mhm.
from it, like, has gotten me closer and ready for the relationship I'm in right now. I don't
That's
think
so
I would have
real.
dated Daniel had I not gone through, like, all those lessons in the past.
Yeah, I agree. I think of myself too, like, everything, like, leads to the right path and the right person and the right thing. It's something else you just reminded me of, like, me and Michelle were talking about this, how we're, like, no longer repeating the same patterns in dating, and because of that, like, our type has changed so much. Like, the men that we are into now are not what our historical type has been ever, which
Yeah.
is I don't know, it feels really refreshing to not be the girl who's like, "Oh, he's too much of a good guy," or like, "I like the fuck boys." Like, a lot of girls will stay
Yeah.
stuff like that, and I feel like
Yeah.
to grow out of that is it feels so good. It feels so good.
I know. That's how I felt too, because I started to let go of a lot of, like, superficial things as
Mhm.
well, and, like, cause I know, like, when I think about, like, who I'm dating now, I'm like, would I have dated him, like, 2 years ago? I don't know if I was mature enough to do so.
Exactly.
Like, I
Yeah.
did I think I was gonna date a guy that loves Pokemon cards and, like, is, like, more introverted? Like, I don't think I would've thought that that's who what I would end up with, and, yeah, like, it's a lot of growing up, and then I also think all the things that we used to crave out of, like, these men are things that weren't
Yeah.
even us. Like, I used to
Yeah.
think I wanted, like, a super cool guy with, like, artistic, like,
Yeah.
whatever, like, they were out here ruining my life, and but the thing is, like, that was me pretending to be something I really wasn't,
Yeah.
essentially. Like, yeah, like, I'm an artist, but, like, there are these traits of these men that I was like, "That's not even me. Who am I doing this for?" Like, for the looks of it, like, "Look at this cool guy is taking me to all these cool things." Like, I don't know.
Yeah, it's so true.
Yeah, the more
Secure in
authentic you
yourself.
become,
Yeah.
yes, like, the more you're gonna attract someone that actually matches up perfectly to, like, the authentic you,
Yeah.
which I love.
And I've also just been thinking about the next person is gonna be my husband, like, that's how I'm viewing dating, as in, like, the next person I get serious with. So
Yeah.
I just think the DJs and, like, the fashion guys and those yes, they're fun, but they're not like husband, Like, if you want someone with
Yeah.
stability, someone who's gonna be a good dad, like, someone who's gonna, like, be loyal, like, all these things, likely you're not gonna find it in that DJ girl, like, Like, he's fun, hang out with him, do your thing, but I don't think that's your husband, is my point.
And it also this is not to say, "Oh, you date the good guy, don't date the cool guy."
Yeah, 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 not saying
For
that.
example, you see a lot of, like, artists, that are date
Mhm.
have, like, a quote, unquote, like, "normal ass wife," because that balance is it's so nice, you know what I mean? Like, I love that I do stand up, but Daniel would not be cut dead, like, getting on a stage by any means,
Yeah.
but he likes that I bring that extrovertedness side of him. I like that he gives me the space to love my nature, like, read my books, like,
Mm.
have my introverted moments. He gives me that space. Depends on what you need in a partner, it's gonna look different. So, for
Yeah.
me, I realized that I needed something else, the opposite of what I
Yeah.
was dating in a sense, and it's been so great. It's actually allowed me to be more creative than I was even before because I have this new built-in space. So I think it just depends, on whatever you need, like, the world's gonna give it to you, and
Yeah, you
everybody
have to
needs
be
something
open
different.
to it, I think, receiving it, because I think it's gonna look different than what you thought you wanted, like, all
Yeah,
your kinda young adult life. Um, but one last thing I will say is I did something brave because 'cause I'm trying to channel something Michelle's therapist told her. And I think I'm just trying to channel a different energy when it comes to dating this year. She had said, do the opposite of what you would normally do when it comes to like dating. I think she was even saying, like, date people you normally wouldn't date, like, do things that make you uncomfortable and like
yeah,
put yourself out there. And after this hangout, you know, felt everything I've been telling you guys right now. So I was like, I kind of want to say something to him and like just let him know like how I felt, as in not like, "Hey, I'm in love with you," but just like it's really refreshing. It's really refreshing to meet someone like you, and it's just something I really needed. And normally old Sheen would be like, "Well, if the feelings were mutual, like, he would say it first, like, I'm not gonna say
yeah,
anything, like, keep my cards close to my chest." But I was like, "No, like, let's just be brave." Like, I wanna put myself out there more too. It's not for an outcome, but it's just, like, putting that energy of doing different things and challenging myself and opening up, so I did do it, guys, and yeah,
amazing.
I'm really, really happy I did it regardless of the outcome. It was just more like, I wanna be a brave girl when it comes to dating.
Did he reciprocate?
He received it really well, yeah.
Yeah.
He he agreed, like, with my sentiments and how comfortable and easy things felt, and also said he wanted to say something but didn't wanna come off dramatic, so
Oh,
that was nice. It was just, like, really reaffirming to feel like, to hear him say that, because sometimes I think we have really good connections and then we're in our head and we're like, "Was it just
was
me
it?
feeling that? Or, like, did
Yeah.
that person also feel that same connection?" So, that was nice.
I like that. Like I said, I do think you're getting closer because with the right person, you can literally say anything and
That's
like
true.
they would like that. You know, like your long-term
Yeah, that's
partner will
true.
like that you have those thoughts of like, "Oh, wasn't that a great like beautiful thing?" And like
Yeah,
think about it in terms of like your best friends. You can literally say anything and they're like
true.
obsessed. I love that. I love that you got angry at that, or I love that you were funny here, you were doing this, or I like that you thought this way. So people that, like, are meant for us will value those moments. With the wrong person, like, they might get the ick, but it's like,
That's
"Good,
so true, 'cause
get away from me."
that's true, that's true. Also, I think it goes back to, I don't know if you said this on this pod, but where you wanted to feel safe and you found
Mhm.
that in your partner, I feel like that's another sign, 'cause, yeah, I did feel safe enough to send that text. I just felt this, like, respect of, like, he wouldn't put me down regardless of how he felt.
Yeah, because you guys sat on the beach and you talked for a while. Did you do anything else, or was that it?
Oh, yeah, okay, so I'll tell you. Shout out Esther Perel, because I totally agree with this. So, yeah, we sat initially on the beach. He brought, like, food and fruit and dessert, and we just, like, chilled and talked for most of the time, which was really fun, but then he was like, "Oh, is there anything else you wanna do before like, for your last day?" And I was like, "Well, my dad is, like, obsessed with honey, and I've realized that the Hawaiian honey looks, like, really different than normal honey, so I wanna buy him some honey." So, like, we went on this
Yeah.
honey hunting adventure where we, like, went to the grocery store to try to find the honey, and the reason I shout out Esther Perel is she always says, whether it's, like, hangouts or dates, try to do, like, something with movement, because when you're sitting down, it's just kinda not, like, stiff, it just when you move, there's a different energy to it, and I feel like that was a really good lesson, because I feel like when you walk around and are active, at least for me, like, a lot of banter and, like, joking and
Yeah.
just, like, fun comes out of it, so that felt really fun. We went and got honey, and I was like, "You know, this feels strangely really good," and I feel like I can imagine what it would be like to have a boyfriend again and to do, like, these
I
mundane
love
things with a
that.
guy. So,
I
yeah, I
love
feel like
that.
this was a gift from the universe, Natalia, to, like, remind me that to have hope, because that
Yeah.
was a gift from the universe.
No, I love that, and I think that I like what you say about, like, what Esther Perel says about, like, doing things like activities because this is me
Mhm.
being dramatic, but how you fall in love with someone is the way they move about the world, like,
Aw.
how you react to things, like, that's love. You just like it.
Yeah,
So
just, like, their presence, I guess.
so I think that's cool that you did that, and I am so proud of your growth from, like, handling things that you could not control at the beginning of your trip
Yeah.
and being like, "Okay, that's fine, she's disconnecting then, like, she has no phone, she has
Yeah.
bunk beds, like, whatever," to, like I feel like the universe rewarding you for having grace,
Yeah.
and giving you this moment of, like, love in a sense, like, "Hey, girl, like, this is out there." I think these little gifts are a sign that the universe is recognizing that you're doing well, and
Yeah.
girl, even just knowing you, doing this podcast for, like, the last year alone, like, your growth is, like it's insane, like, you sound so mature, like, you sound like you're in the right path. I'm so jealous of, like, your husband because he's gonna have the
Oh,
best
yeah.
conversations. You really look at the world and analyze the world often, and girl, when I tell you that's freaking rare. Like, that
You're gonna
you and your
make
husband
me
are gonna have the
cry.
best I'm telling you, you're gonna have the best conversations in the world, like, you really are in a very beautiful path. So, I'm freaking excited for you. Wait, she's crying, no.
Aw. That was so sweet.
I got
That was
emotional.
so nice. Yeah, I get I got emotional. Aw, thank you. That was, like, such a beautiful gift, you just saying all that.
Yeah, 'cause it really shows, so I'm excited for you. I think that when you find the person, like, it's gonna be good, and then he ain't gonna
I
let you
just
go because he's gonna be like, "Oh, wow,"
Yeah. I
you
know, I
know?
really want that. I want someone to see that, but I just had, like, a flashback moment of us sitting on my couch and the come up from us doing what was it? Dating profile icks. Like, that is so wild. I feel like we would not do that now. Maybe we would. I
No,
don't know.
maybe we
Yeah.
would for fun, but, it's
It's
nice.
just funny.
We love
It's
a
just
growing moment.
and I guess what I'll send you guys off with is 1, let it go sometimes. You just gotta let it go and let the world flow. 2, I really do think everything happens for a reason. Um, and then 3, I think when you're dating, what can make it really fun, whether it's dating, hanging out, whatever, is to look for just people who can expand your perspective in one way or another. Like they don't have to be the love of your life, but if they're like positively impacting you and your perspective, that is a beautiful thing. So I will leave you off with Little Rats.
Well, I love this conversation. This is awesome. Well, Rats, we love you so much. We hope you have an amazing week, and we really hope you love this conversation as much as we did. Um, you know what to do. Rate, subscribe, like the things, comment the things. And yeah, hope you guys have a nice week.
Bye.
Bye.